Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, welcome. Happy New Year and all that stuff. Greenville City Council. Approval of the minutes. You've all received a copy of the minutes per email. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, they will stand approved as presented. Approval of the current financial report. You've received copies from the city auditor regarding the monthly report. I need a motion to approve that report.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Godwin to approve the current financial report. Discussion. Call a roll, please.
Rogers?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Approval of the agenda. I have two things to add to the agenda under new business. First will be a rezoning issue sent to council from the Zoning and Planning Board regarding Wayne Healthcare. And the third item will be to appoint or select a new president pro tem of council, which I will address a little when we get to that issue. Other than that, that's all that I have.
Move to accept the agenda as amended.
Motion from Mr. Rogers to approve the agenda as amended. Discussion. Call roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Public hearing. We have one scheduled for this evening regarding a zoning amendment recommendation regarding the sign regulations focusing on downtown enterprise and architecture review overlay district. This is the time where people can either support or oppose that particular zoning amendment. So I'd ask that you would come to the microphone. If you care to comment and state your name and address clearly so the clerk can make it a matter of record. And I would ask that, number one, there's several of you here, and I know the support is heavy in that direction, but if there's someone opposing after someone is supporting it, then we take the opposition next. And I would ask simply that if you all have the same thing to say, that's all well and good, but why prolong the issue? So please take that under advisement, if you will. So anyone wishing to address this issue, please come to the microphone now.
I'll hop up first here. Krista Bloomingdale, 421 South Broadway. And I am here this evening to express Main Street Greenville's support of the amendment to the zoning text. As the council president indicated, we also do have several business and building owners from downtown Greenville represented this evening. Something that Main Street Greenville presented to the Planning and Zoning Board was a letter of support signed by several downtown businesses. And I did bring copies of that letter with me this evening for council to review as well. Would you mind passing those out for me? And I did also include some photos of the types of pedestrian signs that we are looking at and hoping that council will approve to be allowed in the downtown enterprise district. I know this has kind of come before council previously, but just wanted to include some photos, maybe kind of as a refresher. So we do feel that including the pedestrian signs in the downtown enterprise district is beneficial for businesses, particularly when we get visitors into our downtown. We have several tourists that come through that may not know where kind of our staple stores are. And so from that standpoint, having the pedestrian signs really does allow for businesses to attract shoppers, restaurants to attract people to come in and eat. So I would just like to, again, express our support for the initiative, and I am more than happy to answer any questions if council has any.
Krista, does that include the parking lot signs also? That because there's a lot of city-owned parking lots, and the signs are not real visible or readable, is my feeling on it. Could that be included in that also, or?
So from my perspective, those would probably be a separate issue. We're absolutely in favor of adding better signage to highlight the public parking lots, and that's definitely something that is on our work plan. We would hope to work with the city on that. These would be viewed more as signs that would be commissioned by the business owners themselves to be placed onto privately owned buildings. So kind of separate issues, but definitely in favor of both of those.
Thank you.
And as a note, as I said, this has come before council before, and we were faced with some concerns, and we did work with the city administration, safety service director, to make some amendments to the language of the zoning text that we would be amending that have made it even more specific in terms of size requirement, size limits of the signs, height requirements at which the signs can be mounted, the number of signs allowed per building. So I've really tried to make it as specific as possible in order that we're protecting kind of the historicity of our downtown while serving the business owners.
So what are the size of the signs that you're talking about?
So they could be no larger than 5 square feet.
Okay. It's not very big.
No, not at all.
Further questions?
All right. Thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's open for open microphone. If there's no,
Hi, Kirsten Berghoff, 232 West 4th Street. I am the owner of Sadie Grace, which is a boutique located in downtown Greenville. Just some of the information that I've looked up for the signage, there's a need for it. I chuckled this morning. We had a gentleman standing on our sidewalk, bending his neck to look up to see what we were, along with a couple other businesses downtown. The pedestrian signage to stick out from the buildings, there's a need for it. 10% sales growth for those small little signs that are put up on the buildings for somebody walking down the street. This isn't meant for people driving down, but for those walking down the street. We get so many visitors from out of town during the summertime, during the holidays, and to have that small sign would be a great benefit. I speak for myself and for a lot of the business owners in here. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else?
Amber Garrett, 716 Spring Street. My husband and I own and operate the Coffee Pot in downtown Greenville. We've been in business for 7 years. Anything we can add to be a tool for our small businesses that are locally owned and operated. It is a walkable district. That's one of the benefits of our downtown. These signs are used in countless historic downtown districts. They're also used in newly built developments that are walkable. We think it would be a benefit for encouraging people to stay longer. When people stay longer, they usually spend more money. And so that is our hope, that it would continue to support our downtown and continue to make it a place that people would want to stay, visit, and spend time and money. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? How does that fit with our current sign ordinances that we have? We're, of course,
Can I let Chad answer that question?
Yes.
I mean, Chad Henry downstairs.
Correct, we live there, right?
Right. Right, yeah, in the basement. Basically, our sign ordinance is in place. What we did to get a sign in downtown, they have to get a certificate of appropriateness from the Architecture Review Board. What this would be, it presents, some sort of legislation for these signs to be allowable, and it gives basically the authority of the design, the template for the Architecture Review Board to approve. And what would happen was they would apply for the certificate of appropriateness, they would get that granted, then they would then receive the sign permit from the city. It's basically how it's going now. This is just presenting that legislation within our text to do that.
So what you're saying is that the approval of those signs is taken out of the city's hands. It's now in the hands of the Architectural Review Board.
In theory, the Architecture Review Board is the city. The Architecture Review Board is appointed by the city.
Right.
So it's still a permit that comes from the city. It's just, it's given the specific approval to the Architecture Review Board.
Okay.
So Chad, what would be some of the things that might be turned down?
I mean, it could be, you know, obviously anything that exceeds the size, but as long as they work within the confine, I mean, you know, it used to be a thing in the past. We used to deal on colors, different things of that nature, but I think we've kind of realized over, you know, the last few years, the historical societies, that, you know, paint is temporary. So any number of things can be done about that, but, you know, it's, the legislation is written pretty tight. I mean, nothing's to be lower than 8 feet. That matches Ohio Revised Code. Nothing's to exceed 10 feet. And then we also put in legislation to where these things wouldn't be too closely spaced as to be, you know, present any sort of clutter. Situations were brought up in regard to, you know, multiple tenants inside of a building, and we actually wrote legislation in there to make sure that those don't, you know, go on top of one another, or, you know, become too cluttered in that fashion. So really, if they work within that template, and it is something that is appropriate, which also the materials I believe are in there as well, of what they need to be made of, then, you know, like I said, as long as it's appropriate, it would receive approval.
And what about the maintenance then for those signs?
I mean, it would be on the building. These would be building owner driven, or, you know, building tenant driven to be done. And, you know, if they were to come under, you know, something that would need repair, they would need to do that. If it would present danger, you know, because they will be overhanging the sidewalk, if it were to present a danger, it would be, you know, no different than, say, you know, windows that might fall out from third stories, which has happened. That would come under the safety service director to, you know, make sure that, you know, no danger is present.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from any members of council? Okay, I will declare this portion of the public hearing closed. Now, is the legislation prepared at this time?
It wouldn't be capable of being passed tonight anyway, but no.
Right.
It'll be ready probably next week.
Okay, all right.
Regular meeting.
For the regular scheduled meeting on the 15th. Okay. So, moving along then, we have the rest of the public hearing open to anyone who wants to address council at this time. This may be short and sweet, ladies and gentlemen, because as you see, we only have 5 members present this evening, and it takes 6 to suspend the rules to pass legislation. So we're kind of dead in the water on that issue. But nonetheless, we're going to move forward. Anyone else, before I declare the entire public hearing? I mean, we can talk now about other issues and regarding the council matters if anyone wishes to do that at this time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move the agenda to the administrative reports. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everybody, for coming. That's a cool deal. Your support. Appreciate it. So I got a couple announcements is all. January 18th, the DECA has a fundraising event at Montage Cafe at 6:30. January 19th, the wreath across America that I think a couple of people were involved in, they're going to be taking those wreaths out of the cemetery and storing them back away again. Don't forget, Tuesday, February 5th is our combined joint meeting with CIC. And that would be starting at 6 o'clock in the evening. So check your calendars on that again. That is it. So I pass. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Safety Service Director, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I will pass.
Glad I'm sitting down.
My hearing is bad. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Law Director, Mr. Brand.
I'll pass.
Oh, no. Auditor, Mrs. Willman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I just have a couple of items. First of all, we need to set a date for the Council of the Whole to review the 2019 budget before we adjourn. also, I need to know, I already spoke with the audit staff. They wanted to know if you wanted an exit interview. And I kind of spoke for you, but I just wanted the consensus that you agree that we not want an exit interview. Everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah. I got an email on it, so.
Right.
So-
I just wanted it reported in the minutes.
Council is comfortable with not requesting an exit interview, correct?
Correct.
Okay, please note that in the minutes, if you will.
And the only other item I have is just to let you know that the 2018 financial disclosure statements are available to be filled out online. And each one of any elected member of council and all the other folks need to get theirs done by May 15th. We've got plenty of time, but it will get away before you know it. So I just want to let you know that they are available to be completed online at this point in time.
Aren't the ones that's going to be on the primary ballot, aren't those due earlier?
The ones that are on if you are already a sitting council member, the same time
Okay.
constraints are.
Okay, well, I was reading it April 8th, I think, is the way I read it.
Well, if you want to get it in earlier, just
Yeah.
be on the safe side.
Do it now.
Right.
Stiff penalties.
Takes 10 minutes to do it then.
And with that, I pass.
Okay, before we leave, you, Mrs. Wellman, let's take a look at a calendar, if you will, for the possibility of the committee of the whole. And we as council, or as an administration the other morning, discussed the idea of, rather than sending the current 2019 appropriations to the finance committee and have them review it and then bring it to the city council, it's already been pretty well reviewed by all the department heads and everything. So why don't we just go ahead and set a committee of the whole for that review, and that'll save an extra meeting. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, now, when do you want to do it? That's the next question. We'd like to get it done always as quickly as possible. Right now, we're operating on temporary appropriations, which lets payroll happen and all those things happen for the city, but it keeps the various departments from purchasing items that they need beyond the normal day-to-day operations. So as quick as we can get that done, it makes it a much more efficient operation. So what are we looking at here? Do you think that it can be accomplished in a fairly easy amount of time?
I would say an hour or less.
Okay. Now, the 22nd, we have the special session already set for council to review the, what is that thing?
Downtown redevelopment district.
Downtown redevelopment districts, and that's at Memorial Hall at 7 o'clock on the 22nd, which will give us like 3 meetings in a row. The other Tuesday, of course, would be the 29th, which would be the last Tuesday, since we have 5 Tuesdays this month. Or we could possibly look at another evening, depending upon what council wants to do. So it's kind of like your call.
Any evening would work for me.
Anything.
No matter.
I don't know what, do you have any particular suggestion?
Not really. I just don't want to do it clear at the end of the month.
Okay.
Because I have something to turn into the county, which I
Okay.
need a few days to get that done.
Well, there's the next council meeting will be the 15th, which was a week from today, and you got 16th and 17th. So, those nights are available.
16th, I'm busy.
Okay. It's not anything that we're voting on.
We just look,
We're just reviewing the appropriations of the various departments and enterprise funds. So, if you have difficulty making that meeting, we do need a quorum. And that's okay. And of course, you're permitted to review that, or those items all the time at any time you want. So, would it be good for like the 24th, which is a Thursday night on the 24th. Is that too late?
I can work with that.
Pardon?
I can work with that.
Okay. Okay, members of council. That's a
24th.
Thursday night, the 24th of January. Is that a problem for anyone?
Works for me.
Okay.
Let's set it for what, 6 o'clock? Is that too early?
It works for me.
Mr.
I'll
Rogers?
try that.
Okay, that'll work for everyone else. Please inform the rest, and we will set that for the 24th, 6 o'clock. Council, Committee of the Whole. Review appropriations, 2019. So, all right, that's taken care of. Thank you. Moving along. Nothing under committee reports. And the only thing we have is we can give the first reading for an ordinance waiving storm sewer charges for land owned by the Greenville Community Improvement Corporation.
An ordinance waiving stormwater charges for land owned by the Greenville Community Improvement Corporation. This ordinance waives stormwater charges in the amount of $3,465.68 for land owned by the Greenville Community Improvement Corporation.
You've heard the first reading. Nothing under old business, and we have 3 items under new business. At the beginning of at the end of the year last year, at the last meeting of council, I received a communication from our clerk pro tem, acting clerk pro tem at that time, Betsy Smith, who is out of the utility office, and she had requested she was going to vacate that position. In the meantime, we the auditor and has contacted one of our employees, Roxanne Beck, who is a new fire secretary, and she is interested in becoming the clerk pro tem of this council. So, as my appointment as council president, I will be appointing Roxanne Beck as the clerk pro tem, and that's in the absence of the clerk. She takes the minutes and does the meeting. Okay? Now, item 2, rezoning issue from Wayne Healthcare. Will you read that, please?
A letter dated December 18th, 2018. Honorable members of council, at the December 18th, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Wayne Healthcare's request was heard for a zoning amendment for approximately 12 acres fronting Schweitzer Street, known as Wayne Healthcare. Members unanimously voted to send a favorable recommendation to City Council for the request to rezone the land from NB Neighborhood Business and UR Urban Residential to SU Special Use for Healthcare. In the following, with the rezoning regulations, Article 5, Amendments Section 5.05, the Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby forwarding the recommendation to rezone the request to City Council. City Council per zoning text Section 5.06 must now take action. The application is submitted by Jeff Subler, Vice President. Support Services for Wayne Healthcare is attached. Minutes from the December 18th, 2018 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be provided when they are completed. Sincerely, Stephen Willman, Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, and that has to lay over 30 days. Okay, so I think that hearing will have to be set for February the 19th, if I'm looking at it correct. Is that right? Okay, so we will set the public hearing on the rezoning of the land regarding Wayne Healthcare for February the 19th. Now, excuse me. The other day I received a communication from Doug Schmidt, President Burkett, due to conflicts with my work schedule. I have decided to resign from the President Pro Tem position. I feel that it is in the best interest of council at this time. Mr. Schmidt is taking a lot of classes involving his work, and again is absent this evening. So he has chosen to resign as as President Pro Tem, not his council seat. He still retains the council seat. So at this time, I'll accept that, and then now we need to have a new President Pro Tem. And the President Pro Tem operates in the absence of the President. The President Pro Tem at a council meeting also has voting privileges, can make motions, can vote on all issues, is still a council member. They just are in charge of running the meeting. Unlike my position, I do not vote, only in case of a tie. So, who would this council like to have as a possible president pro tem?
I would nominate Jeff Whitaker.
Mr. Rogers nominates Jeff Whitaker.
I'd like to nominate John Hensley.
Mr. Godwin nominates Mr. Hensley. Further nominations? Okay, the clerk has prepared ballots. We will take a written ballot. So, we'll send some of these down there. Only one, please. You only get one. Only get one ballot. I said a couple, but you only get one. Please put down the name of the person you would like to have that position. That's it. Yeah, vote early, vote often.
This is the way election should be. Paper ballot.
You know how much time we'd have to put into getting voting machines for this operation? Gee, God. Mr. Hensley. Mr. Hensley has been appointed, or has been elected, not appointed, elected President Pro Tem. And Mr. Hensley, traditionally, I'm going to ask that you move over. You need to sit beside the president so you can keep an eye on me and see what I'm not doing.
Okay.
But if you want to stay down there, then I can get by with a lot of stuff, can I? Thank you. Wow.
That was easy.
For not a busy evening, it's been a busy evening. First of the year, of course, this is part of the second year of the 2-year term. We have elections coming up. There are 4 ward council seats up in 2019. The auditor, the law director, and the mayor. Those positions are all up for election. And the petitions are due when in February?
February 6th.
Huh?
February 6th.
February 6th, okay. So if you are interested in running for any of those positions, stop by the Darke County Board of Elections, pick up a petition, and pay the fees, and hit the streets. Nothing further. Communications. Do we have any communications?
Monthly reports were received from the following departments: Fire Department, Income Tax Department, Police Department, and Street Department, and a letter from Tim and Angie Schelleberger, owners of Refined Purveyors of Fine Goods, was received on January 7th, 2019, in support of Main Street Greenville's petition to allow pedestrian signs on businesses in downtown Greenville. These reports and letter have been distributed to council.
That's it. Seeing nothing further, we'll call down the council, please.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes, I'm glad to see the packed house out there. And so, you know, as you people elect us, we try to listen to you. Not always can we do what you think we want you to, or what you want us to do, but we try to do as best we can. So with that, I pass.
Mr. Whitaker?
I want to thank everyone that showed up this evening in support of the sign ordinance, and I just want to let you know that, you know, as a member of Main Street Greenville, I see the need for those, and I would like to think that, you know, we're going to do the right thing to help the businesses of Greenville and make this a beneficial thing for everyone. And I don't see any problem in having some signs that are going to benefit the people that visit and make our downtown a little bit more thriving. So, Happy New Year. With that, I pass.
Mr. Wright?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening. Next thing, are we having any problems with the new streetlights?
The new streetlights.
Yeah, going out that you know of? Okay. I'll pass.
Mr. Godwin?
Well, I'd like to start off thanking everybody for coming up here tonight. Like Leon said, it's nice to see people out there that come to the meeting. You know, that we have these on the, usually the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of the month, so you guys can come up here and see what we're doing, besides coming up here from Main Street, Greenville. And also, I don't know if I'm allowed saying this or not, but thanks to the water department for fixing the water leak that we had last Friday. And they did a good job.
Which one?
Over here by the fire department. And hope everybody had a new year, good new year, and with that, I'll pass.
Mr. Hensley?
Yeah, it is really good to see you come up here and express, just by your presence, that you're supporting the sign ordinance. And I know you guys have worked really long and hard. And I also know that if there's any indication that something would be put up that wouldn't be good, I know the Architectural Review Board does take their job very, very seriously. They are constantly looking at what is really needed and does it fit the regulations. So it's really good that you came up here and showed your support for this. And with that, I will pass.
President Burkett?
Excuse me. Well, yeah, I appreciate everyone's attendance as well. Unfortunately, you probably won't be around in January or February, or either the first or second meeting in February if we get the 2019 appropriations done, because we'll be passing about $18.5 million worth of money to be spent in this town, and we'll be lucky if there are enough people here to have a card game. So, you know, it's kind of interesting. You have a one issue, a sign issue, and that brings tons of people out. When you have an issue passing a budget of over $18.5 million, nobody really cares. And that's always kind of interesting to me. And it's been that way for years. So take an interest in your city and support it, and get to know what is going on. I appreciate that. With that, I would entertain a motion to... do we have to? No, not evidences today. A motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adjourn. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Wright?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Thank you all for your attendance. Good night.